Why do you keep explaining your life to people who were never meant to understand your path? And ask yourself, how much energy have you lost trying to justify your journey instead of walking it with silence, clarity, and strength? Today, I will show you 12 lessons that will free you from this habit forever. Lessons that reclaim your power, sharpen your focus, and return you to inner peace. And I promise you this, if you stay until the end, you will walk away with a new understanding of silence, not as absence, but as mastery. 1. Not everyone deserves access to your inner world. Protect it with silence. There comes a moment in every human life when the noise of the world grows louder than the voice within. The opinions of others begin to seep into the mind like water through cracks, and without noticing, you start adjusting your steps, your choices, your dreams, all to match expectations that were never yours to begin with. You start defending your decisions, you explain your intentions, you justify your actions. Not because you want to, but because you've been conditioned to believe you must, conditioned to think that your value comes from being understood, conditioned to feel that clarity in your own heart isn't enough unless it is validated by someone else. But here is the first truth. Not everyone deserves access to your inner world. Not everyone is qualified to hear your doubts, your visions, your wounds, or your unfolding transformation. Not every ear is ready. Not every mind is open. Not every heart is capable. When you share your inner world too freely, you invite contamination. You expose the delicate roots of your becoming to storms that were never meant to reach you. You give strangers the power to distort the narrative you are still writing. Your inner world is your sacred space. It is where your discipline is born, where your resilience is shaped, where your purpose sharpens itself against the stone of silence. Many people speak loudly because they fear silence. Silence reveals truth. Silence exposes insecurity. Silence confronts the parts of us we try to hide behind noise. But the one who learns to embrace silence learns something far greater: protection. Silence is not emptiness, it is armor. It is the invisible shield that shields your energy from unnecessary invasion. When you protect your inner world, you preserve your clarity. When you preserve your clarity, you preserve your direction. When you preserve your direction, nothing external can derail you. Think for a moment about how often you felt drained simply because you tried to explain something personal to someone who lacked the ability to understand the depth of your journey. You've tried to make others see your vision, but they only saw their limitations. You've tried to share your dreams, but they only heard their fears. You've tried to open your heart, but they only touched its surface. Every time you share your inner world with the wrong person, you bleed energy. And energy is life. Energy is focus. Energy is the fuel that drives your growth. Protect it, not with aggression, not with distance, but with understanding. Understand that you owe accessibility to no one. You owe explanations to no one. You owe your inner peace to yourself. When you stop giving everyone access to your thoughts, your emotions, and your vision, something powerful begins to happen. Your mind becomes quieter. Your actions become cleaner. Your presence becomes stronger. People feel the shift without you saying a word. This is the paradox of silence. The quieter you become, the more others listen. The more inward you go, the more outwardly powerful you appear. And the less you explain, the more you command respect. But there is something deeper, a truth that transforms the next stage of your growth. If silence protects your inner world, what happens when you release the need to be understood at all? 2. When you stop explaining, you stop seeking approval and start living intentionally. When the mind is young, it wishes to be seen. When the spirit awakens, it wishes to be aligned. Approval becomes irrelevant. because intention becomes everything. The moment you stop explaining yourself is the moment you step out of the prison of validation, a prison built not by others, but by your attachment to being accepted. Every explanation you give is a signal that you care how you are perceived, a signal that you fear being misunderstood, a signal that you want someone's approval more than your own. But the moment you choose intention over approval, your dear, action shifts. You begin moving from within, not from outside. You start making choices that serve your growth, not the comfort of others. You stop performing and start becoming. Approval seeking drains the spirit because it forces you to live reactively. Every step depends on someone else's reaction. Every idea waits for permission. Every dream becomes fragile under the weight of other people's opinions. But when you break free from the urge to explain, life simplifies. Your decisions become clean. Your emotions become stable. Your actions become steady. This is the essence of intentional living. You act based on alignment, not applause. Imagine walking through your day without hesitation, without worrying about what others think, without rehearsing explanations before you even speak. Imagine a life where your choices are dictated solely by clarity, purpose, and inner truth. That is the life waiting for you beyond explanation. When you stop explaining, you stop negotiating with your own authenticity. You stop watering down your truth to make it digestible for those who don't even understand themselves. You stop shrinking your dreams so they fit within the limited expectation of people who fear their own potential. Your intention becomes your guiding force. And intention is stronger than approval because it comes from consciousness, not insecurity. The world often celebrates loudness, big statements, bold declarations, constant talking. But real power is measured in alignment, not volume. The one who acts with intention does not need to advertise their purpose. It radiates through action. It is felt, not spoken. And when you stop explaining, your actions finally have room to speak for you. You begin to attract people who recognize your direction without needing a speech. You begin to inspire others without trying. You become someone whose presence alone communicates strength. Approval becomes a shadow, something that no longer touches you, something you no longer chase. But this raises a deeper question, one that every seeker of mastery eventually faces. If approval no longer controls you, who then defines your path? 3. Your path is yours. Others cannot see what they have never walked. There is a path beneath your feet that only you can walk. Others may see parts of it, the surface, the direction, the steps, but only you can feel the tour. Rain beneath your soles. Only you know the storms you've endured, the doubts you've battled, the sacrifices you've made, and the dreams that keep you moving forward. Your path is not meant to be understood by everyone, because it was never designed for everyone. It is shaped by your experiences, influenced by your struggles, ignited by your vision. To expect others to understand your path is to expect them to feel what only your soul has felt. They don't know the nights where your thoughts kept you awake. They don't know the mornings when you rose despite exhaustion. They don't know the moments when you almost broke, but didn't. They don't know the inner battles fought in silence. People judge what they see, but they cannot comprehend what they have never lived, so their opinions of your journey can never carry the weight you once gave them. Every time you try to explain your path to someone who has not walked it, you are asking them to understand a language they do not speak. You are giving them the authority to approve a story they have never read. You are offering them the power to interpret a destiny that was never theirs to interpret. Once you realize this, a profound ration occurs. You stop expecting others to understand. You stop seeking agreement. You stop looking for reassurance. And in that exact moment, you begin to walk your path with confidence. Not because others validate it, but because you finally understand that it is yours. Your path will challenge you, shape you, stretch you, and sometimes overwhelm you. But it will never betray you. The experiences you meet along the way are precisely the experiences you need to evolve. The obstacles are designed for your growth. The detours reveal your resilience. The difficulties sharpen your character. Everything on your path belongs to you, not in a selfish way, but in a sacred way. Others may accompany you for parts of the journey, but they will never feel the road as you do. They may offer advice, but they cannot live your consequences. They may share opinions, but they cannot see the full map that your intuition holds. When you stop giving others control over your path, you reclaim it. You begin to trust yourself. You begin to hear the quiet guidance that has always been present inside you. You begin to move with dignity, simplicity, and inner strength. There will still be moments, uncertainty. But uncertainty is not a sign to seek validation. It is an invitation to deepen your trust in your own steps. And once you fully accept that your path belongs to you, a new question rises, one that begins the next evolution of your journey. If your path is truly yours, how powerful could your life become when you walk it without explaining, without apologizing, and without hesitation? 4. Silence sharpens your discipline. Speech often weakens it. There is a subtle truth hidden in the rhythm of daily life. Most people speak far more than they act, and in doing so, they dilute their power without ever realizing it. Every time you talk about what you are going to do, you create a small illusion of progress. You feel a slight sense of accomplishment, as if speaking the intention was already a step toward fulfilling it. But in reality, speech often becomes a trap. It satisfies the ego long before discipline gets the chance to form. Silence, however, has a different effect. Silence forces energy inward. Silence creates pressure. Silence builds tension within the mind, a tension that transforms into action. Discipline is born not in noise, but in focus, and focus see, and not grow in a scattered mind distracted by unnecessary words. The more you speak of your goals, your plans, your personal transformations, the more you risk weakening the very discipline required to achieve them. Speech disperses energy. Silence gathers it. Speech can soothe. Silence can sharpen. Imagine a warrior drawing a bow. If he speaks too much about the target, he may lose his aim. If he discusses his strategy repeatedly, his concentration scatters. But when he focuses entirely on breath, direction, tension, and release, the arrow flies true. This is the power of inward attention. Discipline requires consistency. Consistency requires steadiness. Steadiness requires inner stillness. And inner stillness grows in the absence of noise. There are many who constantly announce their ambitions. I will change my habits. I will rise earlier. I will train harder. I will transform myself. Yet their announcements become a substitute for action. They speak as if the declaration alone carried the weight of transformation. But transformation is not born in words. It is born in repetitive, often invisible acts sustained over time. This is why silence is such a powerful key. Share. Silence demands that you confront your own habits, your own weaknesses, your own patterns without anyone watching. Silence removes applause, removes validation, removes distraction, leaving only you and the truth of your effort. When no one knows what you're doing, the only force that can move you forward is your own will. And this is when discipline becomes authentic, not borrowed, not performed, not dependent on an audience. This is why silence sharpens discipline, because it eliminates the temptation to impress and replaces it with the commitment to progress. Observe those who master their craft. Their work is often done out of sight, away from noise, protected by quiet dedication. Their growth happens in the shadows long before it is revealed in the light. Silence allows you to cultivate the strength that others will later admire. But if you speak too early, you risk uprooting the seed before it has time to grow. Let silence mature your discipline. Let silence refine your intentions. Let silence test your commitment. And then, when your actions finally become visible, they will speak with the clarity that words never could. Yet silence does even more than sharpen. Discipline, it protects your energy. And this leads to a deeper truth. If silence gathers your strength, what happens to your life when your energy is no longer scattered? 5. Energy flows where attention goes. Don't waste it defending yourself. There is an invisible economy in every human life. An economy of energy. Your thoughts, emotions, reactions, and responses all require energy. Where you direct that energy determines the course of your life. Attention is the currency of your inner world. Where you invest it, you grow. Where you withdraw it, you weaken. Where you waste it, you suffer. Yet many people exhaust themselves defending their decisions, explaining their actions, and justifying their choices to others who neither support them nor truly listen. And in doing so, they spend their energy on battles that do not need to be fought. Every explanation you give, every defense you offer, every argument you engage in has a cost measured not in minutes, but in energy. And energy is far more valuable than time because time exists independently, but energy determines how you use it. Energy flows where attention goes. If your attention is consumed by other people, as opinions, your energy drains into their judgments. If your attention is focused on defending yourself, your energy drains into proving something that never needed proof. If your attention is locked on criticism, your energy drains into the shadows of someone else's mind. This is the quiet tragedy of many lives, not that they lack potential, but that they leaked energy into arguments that held no meaning. When you stop defending yourself, you reclaim your power, because defense is a reaction, and reactions place you beneath the influence of others. Every time you defend yourself, you surrender the frame. You allow someone else to dictate the direction of your thoughts. You give importance to voices that do not deserve your focus. The truth is simple. You cannot live freely if you are constantly performing explanations. You cannot grow deeply if you are constantly battling assumptions. You cannot rise consistently if your energy is tied to the approval of others. The disciplined mind learns to withdraw energy from unnecessary conflict, not out of weakness, but out of wisdom. Not because the truth is in question, but because the truth does not require performance. Truth exists without explanation. Strength exists without announcement. Intention exists without validation. Your energy is sacred. Protect it as fiercely as you protect your dreams. Every moment you spend defending yourself is a moment stolen from your growth. Consider this. The people who misunderstand you often do so because they lack the capacity to understand themselves. How can someone who is not in harmony with their own path accurately judge yours? So why offer explanations to those who have never walked your road? Why defend your vision to those who cannot see beyond their own limitations? Why waste energy on proving anything to anyone when the only proof that matters is the life you live? When you withdraw your attention from external noise and bring it back into yourself, something profound happens. Your energy rises, your clarity sharpens, your purpose intensifies. You begin moving forward without hesitation, without fragmentation, without being pulled in 100 directions by the opinions of others. Energy is life. Guard it, direct it, harness it, and let it flow toward the future you are building, not the judgments you are escaping. And yet, there is an even deeper layer. A truth that becomes visible only once your energy is no longer leaking outward. If directing energy inward makes you strong, what happens when you train your mind to stop reacting altogether? 6. A calm mind reacts to nothing. A confused mind reacts to everyone. There is a point on the inner journey where you realize that your greatest battles were never with other people. They were with your own reactions. People often assume that strength shows itself through force, dominance, or intensity, but true strength has a different signature. True strength is calm. A calm mind is not passive. A calm mind is not indifferent. A calm mind is not weak. A calm mind is powerful because it is unmoved. It chooses when to respond. It chooses what deserves attention. It chooses which thoughts to nourish and which impulses to let dissolve. Reactivity is a symptom of inner confusion. When the mind is scattered, every comment becomes an attack. Every opinion becomes a threat. Every disagreement becomes a battle. Every criticism becomes a wound. A confused mind reacts to everything because it has no anchor. It is pushed by fear, by insecurity, by unresolved emotions hiding beneath the surface. See, but a calm mind is anchored. A calm mind has clarity. It knows what matters and what does not. It knows which voices to hear and which to ignore. It knows when to act and when stillness is the stronger choice. Calmness is not a trait. Calmness is a discipline. It is trained, sharpened, and strengthened the same way the body is trained through physical practice. Calmness is the absence of unnecessary reaction. Many people react instantly, not because the situation demands speed, but because the mind cannot hold silence long enough to see clearly. The calm mind, however, pauses to breathe, pauses to observe, pauses to understand, pauses to see the truth that is often hidden beneath the surface layer of the moment. In that pause, wisdom is born. The pause between stimulus and reaction is the birthplace of mastery. It is in that pause where you reclaim authority over your emotions. It is in that pause where you choose intention over impulse. It is in that pause where you transform yourself. Imagine the freedom of a mind that is not disturbed by noise, opinions, judgments, or provocations. Imagine the strength of moving through life without being pulled by every external force. Imagine the clarity of living guided by inner truth, not outer pressure. This is the essence of a calm mind. It reacts to nothing because it understands everything. A calm mind does not need to defend. A calm mind does not need to explain. A calm mind does not need to justify. It simply sees things as they are, not as the emotional storm of the moment attempts to distort them. And with understanding comes stillness. With stillness comes power. With power comes direction. When you cultivate calmness, you break the cycle of reaction that keeps so many people trapped in emotional chaos. You begin to move from a place of centered awareness rather than scattered confusion. Your decisions become clean. Your relationships improve. Your actions gain force because they arise from clarity rather than panic. And the beautiful irony is this: when your mind becomes calm, you no longer need to withdraw from the world, because the world can no longer shake you. Calmness allows you to walk through chaos without absorbing it. Calmness allows you to face conflict without losing yourself. Calmness allows you to hear criticism without being wounded. Calmness allows you to see truth without distortion. And yet, calmness reveals an even greater truth, a truth that shifts the direction of your entire inner journey. If calmness frees you from reacting to the world, what transformation awaits when you begin shaping the world from within your calm? 7. Your growth does not require an audience. There is a silent stage upon which the most important transformations of your life will unfold. A stage with no applause, no observers, no witnesses to applaud your evolution. Growth is not a performance. It is a private contract between you and your future self. Yet many people delay their growth because they are waiting for someone to notice it. They want validation for their progress. They want to be admired for their discipline. They want acknowledgement for their effort. But growth that depends on being seen is not growth, it is performance. Real growth happens in hidden places, in the early hours when no one is awake to congratulate you, in the quiet evenings when you choose discipline over distraction without telling anyone, in the moments of struggle where the only voice cheering for you is the faint whisper of your own determination. You strengthen your character. Each time you continue without being observed, you sharpen your discipline. Each time you push forward without reward, you deepen your wisdom each time you rise without an audience to applaud the rising. Growth is most powerful when it is invisible, because invisible growth is pure. It has no external motive, no ego attached, no performance demanded. When no one is watching, you meet your authentic self. You face your weaknesses honestly. You examine your habits truthfully. You confront your patterns courageously. This honest confrontation is the birthplace of true transformation. Because you are not pretending. You are not acting. You are not curating a version of yourself for others to see. You are simply becoming. The tree does not grow faster because people admire it. The sun does not rise brighter because someone claps. The river does not flow stronger because someone praises its movement. Nature grows in silence, and so do you. Your growth does not need spectators. Your growth needs consistency, dedication, stillness, honesty. There is a strength that comes from being unseen when you grow without an audience. You learn to trust yourself deeply. You learn that your effort matters even when unrecognized. You learn to move beyond external approval. You learn to build quietly, steadily, patiently. And then one day, those who never noticed your struggle will be confronted with the strength you cultivated in silence. They will see the confidence you forged in solitude. They will feel the power that emerged from your unseen battles. But by then, their approval will no longer matter, because the journey has already taught you the truth. Growth is an internal process, not an external performance. And once this truth is understood, another question arises. A question that leads directly into the next stage of your awakening. If your growth no longer needs approval, why should other people's limits define your potential? 8. People who judge your journey reveal their own limits, not yours. Judgment is a mirror, not a measurement. When someone looks at your life and tells you what you can or cannot do, they are not describing you. They are describing the boundaries of their own mind. Every judgment is rooted in the observer's experiences, fears, insecurities, and unfulfilled dreams. People rarely see you as you are. They see you through the lens of their own limitations. When someone says that is impossible, they mean they cannot imagine doing it. When someone says you are making a mistake, they mean they would be afraid to make the same choice. When someone says, I don't understand your decisions, they mean they cannot see beyond the edges of their own perspective. So why would you let another person's limits become the blueprint for your life? Most people judge not because they understand your path, but because your path threatens the comfort of their assumptions. You show them possibilities they have never considered. You reflect a level of courage they have not allowed themselves to express. You expose the gap between their desires and their actions, and this makes them uncomfortable. Judgment is often a defense mechanism against self-reflection. It is easier to criticize your journey than to confront their own stagnation. It is easier to point at your direction than to question theirs. It is easier to say you shouldn't than to admit I didn't. The moment you realize this, judgment loses its power. You stop personalizing it. You stop internalizing it. You stop shrinking yourself to fit into the smallness of another person's worldview. You begin to see judgment as information, not about you, but about the one who offers it. Their words reveal their mindset. Their doubts reveal their unhealed wounds. Their criticism reveals their fear. Their disbelief reveals their lack of experience with transformation. When you rise above judgment, something extraordinary happens. Your vision expands. your confidence stabilizes. Your spirit becomes untouchable because you understand that no one can measure a journey they have not walked, and your journey is unique. Your experiences are unique. Your potential is unique. Your calling is unique. So the judgments of others cannot define you. Only your direction can. Those who judge your choices are often the same ones who never had the courage to make their own. Those who doubt your path are often the ones who abandoned their own dreams. Those who criticize your growth are often the ones who fear confronting their lack of it. And yet, the deeper truth is this: you do not need to silence your critics. You simply need to stop letting their voices shape your steps. Because when you stop reacting to judgment, your energy returns to where it belongs: your path, your peace, your progress. And once you stop letting the limits of others influence your life, a new realization emerges, one that shifts the entire structure of your inner world. If judgment reflects their limits, not yours, why give them access to your inner world at all? 9. Privacy is not secrecy, it is wisdom. There is a quiet strength in keeping parts of your life private, not hidden, not concealed, not secret, simply protected. Privacy is a boundary, a shield, a sacred space where your intentions can grow without interference. Most people misunderstand privacy. They believe that if something is not shared, it must be secret. But secrecy is rooted in fear. Fear of being seen, fear of being judged, fear of being exposed. Privacy, on the other hand, is rooted in wisdom. It recognizes that not all soil is fertile, not every ear is discerning, not every environment is safe for your dreams to germinate. There is a time for sharing, yes, but sharing requires discernment. Discernment requires maturity. Your life is not a public document. Your dreams are not community property. Your struggles are not open invitations for opinions. Your inner world is not meant to be consumed by everyone. Privacy allows you to cultivate depth, depth of thought, depth of intention, depth of character. When you keep your inner life private, you protect it from premature exposure. Ideas need time to mature. Goals need time to stabilize. Healing needs time to settle. Transformation needs time to root deeply. If you reveal too much too soon, you risk weakening the very process you are trying to strengthen. Because the moment something becomes public, it becomes vulnerable to judgment, misunderstanding, projection, and negativity. Privacy is the sanctuary where your potential can breathe without interruption. And there's another dimension to privacy, one that is rarely discussed. Privacy strengthens identity. When no one knows your next move, you are free to choose it without interference. You are free to change direction without external pressure. You are free to evolve without resistance. You are free to explore without justification. Privacy allows authenticity to deepen. The more you keep EP within, the more power you generate. The more power you generate, the easier it becomes to move with intention. The more intentional you become, the clearer your destiny becomes. Privacy is wisdom because it acknowledges that not everyone is meant to walk with you. Not everyone is qualified to hear your truth. Not everyone has the purity to hold your vulnerability. Not everyone has the stability to honor your growth. Some people listen to respond, not understand. Others listen to judge, not support. Others listen to gossip, not guide. This is why privacy is sacred. When you choose privacy, you choose peace. When you choose privacy, you choose clarity. When you choose privacy, you choose self-respect. Privacy does not isolate you. It refines you. It teaches you when to speak and when to stay silent. It teaches you who deserves access and who does not. It teaches you to value your inner world more than external validation. And once you embrace privacy as wisdom, something profound becomes clear. Something that opens the door to the next phase of your evolution. If privacy protects your inner world, how powerful might you become when your inner world is completely aligned, undisturbed, and untouched by the noise of others? 10. Stop using pain as your identity. Pain is not the problem. What you do with it, that is where your destiny shifts. There comes a moment in every human life when suffering arrives like an unexpected visitor. It does not knock. It does not wait to be invited. It simply enters, sits down, and demands that you acknowledge it. For many, this moment becomes a defining scar, a permanent shape, a mask they place over their real face and forget to remove. But pain was never meant to be worn. Pain was meant to be witnessed, then released. Yet so many cling to it, not because they enjoy suffering, but because they fear who they would be without it. Pain gives them a story, a narrative, a reason for why they cannot move, cannot grow, cannot rise. It becomes a strange shelter, uncomfortable but familiar. And the familiar often feels safer than the unknown. But what if the unknown is where your freedom lives? Breathe deeply for a moment. Imagine stepping outside the identity built from wounds. Imagine standing without the weight you have dragged for years. Imagine realizing the pain was not your jailer, but your teacher. Only when the lesson is learned can the experience dissolve. Pain teaches clarity, it teaches humility, it teaches the power of resilience. But once its teaching is complete, you are meant to stand up and walk forward, without carrying the ashes of what once burned you. Many people fear letting go because they subconsciously believe, if I no longer hurt, then I no longer have a story. But you are not here to live a story of pain. You are here to live a story of awakening. If you let pain define you, it becomes your anchor. If you let pain refine you, it becomes your wings. There is a profound difference. Consider this. Each time you speak about your suffering, do you speak to release it? Or do you speak to reinforce it? One path liberates, the other path chains. When your pain becomes the center of every sentence, the foundation of every relationship, the reason behind every hesitation, then pain has not just touched your life, it has taken command of it. And you are not born to live under the rule of suffering. Close your eyes, listen, feel the quiet truth rising inside. You are more than what hurt you. You are more than what broke you. You are more than what you survived. Pain is a moment. Identity is a lifetime. Do not let the moment steal the lifetime. The path ahead requires lightness. You cannot walk the mountain with stones strapped to your heart. Let go. Not because the past does not matter, but because you matter more. Letting go is not forgetting. Letting go is remembering who you were before the wound. And it is remembering who you can still become. Slow breath in, slow breath out. Release the identity made from pain, because what comes next requires you to be unburdened. Something is approaching, a truth even deeper than pain. Keynote 11. Stop repeating the same emotional reactions. There is a pattern inside you, a rhythm, a habitual echo that awakens every time life presses a familiar button. Anger, fear, frustration, defensiveness, withdrawal. These reactions feel automatic, as if someone else built them into your system long before you could decide who you wanted to be. They repeat again and again like a broken record spinning in the dark. But here is the truth few dare to face. You are not reacting to life. You are reacting to your memory of life. The situation in front of you is new, but your reaction is old, a relic, a remnant, a reflex carved by experiences that no longer exist. Who would you be if your reactions weren't inherited from the past? Pause, listen, feel that question inside your chest. There are people walking through the world convinced that life keeps repeating itself. But it is not life repeating. It is them. The same emotional script, the same emotional sentences. Same emotional storms. And the storms continue only because the person carrying them keeps summoning the same clouds. Imagine a mirror. Imagine seeing yourself not as you believe you are, but as you truly behave. How often do you react before you understand? How often do you defend before you listen? How often do you assume before you observe? How often do you close before you open? Reactions reveal conditioning. Responses reveal consciousness. When you react, you are living your past. When you respond, you are living your present. How many moments have been lost because the past hijacked them? How many relationships have been damaged because your old emotional patterns drowned your new possibilities? You cannot move forward if your emotions keep dragging you backward. Slow down. The next time life triggers you, do not rise immediately into the storm. Pause, breathe, witness. In that pause, that sacred silent pause, you reclaim your power, because the pause is where the old cycle dies and the new cycle begins. Every emotional reaction is a doorway. Behind one door is repetition. Behind the other is transformation. Just one mindful breath can change everything. Do not underestimate this. Transformation never arrives loudly, it whispers. It whispers in the moments you choose not to react the way you always have. When you break one emotional pattern even once, you break the illusion that you are controlled by your past. And once that illusion shatters, you begin to see a truth that changes your entire path. You can choose who you become. Reaction is unconscious. Choice is freedom, and freedom is the beginning of a new way of living. Stand in this truth for a moment. Feel its weight, feel its liberation. Because the next revelation will take you even deeper, to a place where your silence becomes your power. There is something you have not yet seen about the way you speak. Keynote 12, stop talking your energy away. There is a point in life when you realize that words are not neutral. They are not harmless. They are not casual. Words are energy. And every time you speak, you spend something. Some people speak all day and wonder why they feel empty, drained, unfocused, or spiritually tired. They assume the world has exhausted them, but in truth, they have exhausted themselves, not through action, through expression. When why? You speak without awareness, you leak energy. When you speak to impress, you leak energy. When you speak to defend your ego, you leak energy. When you speak to be seen, to be validated, to be acknowledged, you leak energy. And soon, there is nothing left to build with. Imagine waking each morning with a limited amount of internal power, a reservoir of clarity, strength, intuition, motivation, and presence. Whatever you speak, you spend. The question is, are your words building your life or draining it? Silence is not the absence of expression. Silence is the conservation of power. Silence sharpens the mind. Silence deepens perception. Silence strengthens your inner presence. In silence, you learn to hear your own life. Many talk because they fear stillness. They fear what will rise in the quiet. But the quiet reveals what is real. Every time you overshare your plans, you weaken them. Every time you describe your journey before it has matured, you dilute it. Every time you reveal your inner process to those who have not earned the right to hear it, you scatter your focus. Guard your energy, guard your silence, guard your words. Speak less, and when you do speak, let it. Be intentional, grounded, deliberate, aligned with your purpose. A single powerful sentence is worth more than 1,000 wasted explanations. And when you master this, something remarkable begins to happen. People start to listen, not because your voice is louder, but because your presence is stronger. Presence is built in silence. Your path becomes clearer. Your intuition becomes sharper. Your actions become more precise. Silence does not weaken you. Silence concentrates you. Stand in this awareness for a moment. Feel how much energy you have lost over the years by speaking without purpose. Feel how powerful you will become when you stop doing so. Because the journey is not ending. It is only deepening. There is a layer of wisdom waiting just beneath this silence, a revelation that will shape everything that follows. 13. Stop seeking approval from those who cannot see your path. There is a moment, silent but powerful, when you realize that the eyes watching you cannot see you, not because you are invisible, not because you are insignificant, but because your inner horizon extends beyond their field of vision. And yet, so many souls walk through life bending themselves, shrinking themselves, twisting themselves into shapes just to fit inside the small expectations of people who were never meant to guide their destiny. Approval is a subtle prison. It does not appear with bars or chains. It appears with questions. Will they like this? Will they understand me? Will they approve of my choice? Will they think I'm enough? Each question is a quiet theft, stealing a piece of your authenticity, stealing a piece of your courage, stealing a piece of your inner truth. When you live for someone else's approval, you abandon your own alignment. Slow down. Take a deep breath. Ask yourself, whose voice is guiding my steps? Whose opinion is shaping my decisions? Whose perspective have I mistaken for wisdom? There are people in your life who cannot see your future because they cannot see beyond their own limitations. And when you ask them for approval, you ask them for something they cannot give. A person who has never climbed a mountain cannot validate the path of one who is walking toward the summit. Approval becomes dangerous when it becomes a replacement for inner clarity. You begin to confuse validation with direction. You begin to confuse applause with truth. You begin to confuse acceptance with alignment. But approval has nothing to do with alignment. Approval is about comfort. Alignment is about growth. And growth rarely makes other people comfortable. Understand this deeply. Your path was not given to them. Your vision was not revealed to them. Your intuition does not speak to them. Your journey is your own. When you reveal your dreams to people who cannot see, they will not understand. Not because the dream is impossible, but because the dream was not planted in their soil. Some seeds do not grow in the shade of other people's doubt. There is a sacred discipline in keeping your path clean from the footprints of those who were never meant to walk it. Not in anger, not in rejection, but in clarity. Do not seek permission to evolve. Do not wait for others to understand what you are becoming. Do not pause your awakening for the sake of someone else's comfort, because every time you slow your growth to earn approval, you step away from the person you are meant to be. And the world loses something only you could have brought into it. The greatest irony is this: when you stop seeking approval, you begin to radiate a presence that naturally earns respect. Not because you tried to be seen, but because you finally allowed yourself to be. Authenticity is magnetic. People may not understand you, but they feel your truth. They may not agree with you, but they sense your conviction. They may not walk your path, but they recognize the strength in your forward movement. Freedom begins when the need for approval ends. Stand in this truth for a moment. Feel its quiet power. Feel the weight lifting off your chest, the weight of expectations you were never meant to carry, because the next revelation will take you even deeper into a territory where the mind must surrender and the inner world becomes your compass. Something is waiting, a lesson about silence, solitude, and the path only you can walk. Keynote 14. Stop fearing silence and solitude. There is a kind of silence that terrifies people, a silence not of the outer world, but of the inner world. The kind of silence where you can no longer outrun yourself, where the distractions fade, where the noise dissolves, where your thoughts, your fears, your desires, and your unresolved truths rise to the surface like reflections on still water. Most people avoid this silence, not because they lack discipline, but because they fear what silence reveals. They fear meeting themselves. They fear seeing the parts of their being that remain unhealed. They fear recognizing the choices they avoided. They fear acknowledging the direction their life naturally wants to move toward. But silence is not the enemy. Silence is the doorway. And solitude is not punishment. Solitude is initiation. Every powerful transformation begins in the quiet, far away from the noise, far away from the crowd, far away from the expectations of others. In solitude, you finally hear the voice that has been whispering beneath the turbulence of your daily life. You hear the truth you have ignored. You hear the path you have resisted. You hear the wisdom that has been patiently waiting for you to slow down enough to receive it. Silence is not empty. Silence is full of answers, full of clarity, full of direction. But it speaks only to those who are willing to listen. Many people fear silence because they have confused motion with progress. They believe that constant movement, constant noise, constant stimulation is a sign of living. But inner stillness is not the absence of life. It is the birthplace of life. A river that never rests becomes shallow. A heart that never rests becomes numb. A mind that never rests becomes confused. A soul that never rests becomes lost. Silence restores. Silence purifies. Silence strengthens. In silence, your intuition awakens. Your insight sharpens. Your purpose clarifies. Solitude is the training ground for inner warriors, those who do not rely on the world to tell them who they are. When you walk alone, you learn to walk with yourself. When you walk with yourself, you learn to walk with strength. When you walk with strength, you learn to walk with presence. And presence is the foundation of true power. Look around at those who fear solitude. They cling to noise because noise hides the inner world. They cling to crowds because crowds prevent self-reflection. They cling to constant stimulation because stimulation numbs the deeper truth. But you are not here to escape yourself. You are here to meet yourself, to know yourself, to become yourself. Solitude is not loneliness. Solitude is your return home. When you sit alone, truly alone, something extraordinary happens. You meet the observer behind your thoughts. You meet the awareness behind your emotions. You meet the presence behind your personality. And once you touch that presence, even for a moment, the fear of silence dissolves, because you realize that silence is not empty space. Silence is sacred space. The world teaches you to fear being alone. Wisdom teaches you to seek it. The world teaches you to avoid silence. Wisdom teaches you to enter it. The world teaches you to escape discomfort. Wisdom teaches you to transform through it. Now breathe deeply. Feel the quiet truth rising inside. You cannot follow the path ahead if you are afraid to walk with yourself. You cannot access your deepest wisdom if you never sit in silence long enough to hear it. And you cannot step into your highest alignment if you keep drowning your inner voice in the noise of the world. Rest in the silence for a moment. Let it open. Let it reveal. Let it prepare you. Because what comes next goes even deeper, into a realm where silence turns into awareness, and awareness becomes your power. Something is approaching, a realization that will reshape the way you move through life. 15. Stow. P. Explaining your inner transformation to those who haven't transformed. There comes a time in every seeker's journey when the inner world begins to shift before the outer world understands what is happening. Something inside awakens. Something inside reorganizes itself. Something inside sharpens its perception, deepens its intuition, and begins to see through layers that once appeared solid. This inner transformation is subtle at first, like a whisper carried by wind, barely noticeable. Then it grows, it expands. It becomes a force that changes the way you breathe, the way you walk, the way your spirit rests inside your own body. You feel it clearly, but others may not see it at all. And this is where many fall into an unnecessary struggle. They try to explain what is happening inside to those who have not yet taken even the first step on that path. You try to explain your clarity to those who still live in confusion. You try to explain your stillness to those who still live in noise. You try to explain your discipline to those who still live in distraction. You try to explain your awakening to those who still sleep. And in doing so, you exhaust yourself, not because they are wrong, not because they are ignorant, not because they lack intelligence, but because they cannot hear a symphony their ears are not yet tuned to receive. Inner transformation cannot be translated into ordinary language. You cannot wrap awakening in words. You cannot compress spiritual growth into explanations. You cannot fit your expansion into the narrow boundaries of someone else's current perception. Some truths can be understood only through experience. Some realizations can be grasped only through reflection. Some awakenings can be recognized only after a soul has walked through its own fire. And transformation, real transformation, is one of them. When you explain yourself to someone who has not walked the path, you are not enlightening them. You are draining yourself. Your inner shift is sacred. It is not meant to be debated. It is not meant to be defended. It is not meant to be proven. It is meant to be lived. There is a profound peace that arrives when you stop trying to be understood by everyone. You begin to realize that silence protects growth, that privacy protects transformation, that solitude protects evolution. You do not need others to understand your path. You only need to walk it. Let the world see the transformation through your presence, not your explanations. Let your actions reveal the depth you carry. Let your discipline reveal the clarity you've cultivated. Let your aura reveal the silence you've mastered. Let your life become your explanation. Because when transformation is genuine, it radiates without announcement. It expresses itself without effort. It speaks without words. And those who are ready to understand will feel it. Not because you told them, but because your energy communicates what language cannot. Every stage of evolution has its own level of audience. Not everyone is meant to witness your becoming. Some were meant only to see your old self. Some were meant to see you outgrow them. Some were meant to see you from a distance. And some, only a rare few, were meant to understand your silence more than your speech. Honor the difference. You do not need to justify your growth. You do not need to soften your truth. You do not need to hide your expansion. And you definitely do not need to reduce the size of your becoming so that someone else can be comfortable. The path forward requires courage. The courage to honor your transformation, even when no one else understands it. Stand in that courage now. Feel the strength rising through your spine. Feel the calm settling into your breath. Feel the clarity sharpening your gaze. You are transforming. You are evolving. You are shedding layers that once defined you. And not everyone is meant to know how or why. You do not owe explanations. You owe yourself alignment. Because what the world cannot understand today, it will witness tomorrow in the undeniable power of who you become. Let this truth settle into your bones. You do not need to explain your transformation. You only need to become it. Hold this awareness. Because ahead lies an even deeper realization about power. One that will reshape the very way you move through the world. Something is approaching. A truth about choosing your battles, your energy, and your peace. Keynote 16. Stop fighting wars that are not yours. Imagine you are walking through a vast landscape, open, limitless, filled with quiet wind and infinite sky. Then imagine someone approaches with urgency, with chaos, with unresolved storms inside their chest. They hand you their conflict, place it in your palms, and expect you to carry it as if it were your responsibility to resolve. Most people accept it, not out of weakness, but out of habit. Humans have been conditioned to adopt the wars of others, their emotional storms, their unresolved grievances, their insecurities, their projections, their unhealed wounds, their unprocessed pain. But here is the truth. Not every war is yours. Not every conflict needs your sword. Not every battle deserves your energy. There are fights that drain you without purpose. There are battles that distract you from your path. There are wars that were never meant for your spirit to enter. When you step into conflict that does not belong to you, you lose alignment, you lose clarity, you lose direction. You begin to live reactively instead of intentionally. You begin to fix problems that were never yours to fix. You begin to bleed for wounds that do not exist on your skin. And worst of all, you begin to abandon your true path for the sake of carrying someone else's burden. Pause, take a breath, feel the weight of this realization. You were not born to be a battlefield for the unresolved chaos of others. There is a sacred difference between helping and carrying. There is a sacred difference between supporting and absorbing. There is a sacred difference between guiding and rescuing. When you step into a war that is not yours, you do not save anyone. You only deplete yourself. Some people seek conflict not to resolve it, but to sustain the identity they've built around it. Some people seek drama because silence feels too unfamiliar. Some people seek battles because their inner world remains untended. If you enter their war, you do not bring peace. You only add another fighter to a battlefield that should have been empty. Wisdom is knowing when to engage and when to walk away. There is immense power in restraint, in observing without absorbing, in witnessing without entering, in hearing without reacting. Some battles are invitations. Invitations to lose your center, lose your peace, lose your purpose, decline them. Your energy is your responsibility. Your clarity is your responsibility. Your inner peace is your responsibility. People may accuse you of being cold when you stop fighting their wars. Let them. People may accuse you of being distant when you protect your energy. Let them. People may accuse you of being selfish when you prioritize your peace. That by let them. Their interpretation is not your truth. Choose your battles with deep consciousness, but choose them with awareness, or choose them with intentionality. The battles worth fighting are not the ones that demand your reaction, but the ones that require your evolution. And very few conflicts in life truly require your involvement. The more silent you become inside, but the more clearly you see which wars belong to you and which are illusions dressed as responsibilities. But stand tall in this awareness. Feel the strength rising in your breath. Feel the empowerment forming in your heartbeat. Because once you learn to protect your energy from unnecessary wars, you unlock a new kind of power. One that transforms not only how you fight, but how you live. What comes next will shift the way you hold your energy forever. 17. Stop telling people your next move, There is a sacred power inside every intention. A heat, pulse, a spark that begins quietly in the unseen world long before it ever becomes action in the physical world. Most people do not realize how delicate this spark truly is. How easily it can be weakened. How quickly it can be dissolved. How silently it can be stolen. Not stolen by force, but stolen by exposure. Every time you share your next move, your vision, your plan, your inner strategy, you release a portion of the energy required to bring it into reality. Some speak because they are excited. Some speak because they want encouragement. Some speak because they want admiration. Some speak because silence feels too heavy. Some speak because their confidence is not yet rooted in action. But the universe works in silence. Growth works in silence. Transformation works in silence. A seed grows in darkness beneath the soil where no eyes can see it and no voices can disturb it. A seed does not announce itself. It rises only when it is strong enough to withstand the wind. Your next move is a seed. It needs silence to gain strength. It needs privacy to develop roots. When you speak too soon, you expose the seed to the cold air before it has formed the resilience to survive. Some people will doubt you, and doubt is a subtle poison. Some people will envy you, and envy carries a silent heaviness. Some people will misunderstand you, and misunderstanding can distort your clarity. And some people will unconsciously project their limitations onto your path, not out of malice, but out of habit. Every projection, every doubt, every comment, every opinion, they all interfere with the purity of your inner direction. And so, without meaning to, you become influenced not by your intuition, but by the noise of others. This is why silence is not simply wise, silence is protective. There is a time to reveal BR, but not before the movement has matured. BR, not before the foundation is unshakable. Not before your inner knowing is stronger than the outer noise. But silence gives birth to alignment. Alignment gives birth to momentum. BR. Momentum gives birth to results. BR. And results speak louder than words ever could. Imagine planning your next step with such clarity that it hums in your bones. Imagine keeping it private long enough for that hum to become a vibration. BR, then a frequency. BR, then a force, then a movement that even obstacles cannot weaken. BR, your dreams deserve this protection. Not everyone is meant to know what you are becoming. Not everyone can handle the weight of your dreams. Not everyone is capable of seeing the world through your vision. Some will try to discourage you because your dreams remind them of what they fear to pursue. Some will try to limit you because your freedom exposes their self-imposed cages. Some will try to interfere because your path threatens the stability of their own comfort. And that is why silence becomes your shield. When you do not speak, no one can interfere. When you do not reveal, no one can dilute your purpose. When you do not explain, no one can distort your clarity. You move quietly, you build quietly, you strengthen quietly, you rise quietly. And then, when the moment is right, when the roots are deep, when the momentum is unstoppable, you emerge effortlessly, powerfully, undeniably. The world sees the result, but they never saw the preparation. The world sees the movement, but they never saw the discipline. The world sees the confidence, but they never saw the silence that formed it. Your silence becomes your power, the power to act without interference, to grow without distraction, to evolve without resistance. Because the truth is simple. When no one knows your next move, no one can stop your next move. Hold this truth as you breathe slowly. Let it settle into your awareness. Let it shape the way you protect your inner fire. Let it refine the way you guard your direction. Because when silence becomes your strategy, clarity becomes your companion. But something deeper is approaching. A revelation not about silence, but about energy itself. For there is one final shift that transforms every step you take. Keynote 18. Stop giving your energy to what does not grow you. Pause for a moment. Feel your breath entering and leaving your body. Feel your heart beating with ancient intelligence. Feel your life moving quietly beneath your skin. Now ask yourself, where does your energy go? Most people never truly ask this question. They notice their exhaustion, but they do not trace it. They notice their frustration, but they do not investigate it. They notice their stagnation, but they do not question it. Energy is life. Energy is direction. Energy is creation. Where your energy flows, your life follows. But many pour their life into places that offer no growth, arguments that lead nowhere, people who drain rather than uplift, habits that numb rather than strengthen, worries that repeat without resolution, distractions that shrink rather than expand, regrets that keep the past alive, attachments that hold the spirit hostage. And after giving their energy away, they wonder why they have none left to build with. Growth requires energy. Clarity requires energy. Peace requires energy. Transformation requires energy. Awakening requires energy. You cannot rise if you are drained. You cannot grow if you are scattered. You cannot evolve if you are distracted. Look closely at your life. How many thoughts weaken you? How many conversations deplete you? How many relationships drain you? How many habits shrink your spirit? How many emotions consume your strength? How many obligations pull you away from your path? Every moment of awareness builds your power. Every moment of unawareness dissolves it. And this is the secret. Your energy is not lost. Your energy is spent. It is spent on what you focus on. It is spent on what you worry about. It is spent on what you repeat. It is spent on what you tolerate. It is spent on what you emotionally carry. If you want a different life, you must direct your energy differently. Imagine holding a container of pure life force, the essence of your clarity, your purpose, your discipline, your intention. Now imagine pouring it into a cup with a hole. That is what happens when you give your energy to what does not grow you. Some people drain you simply by existing in your space, not because they are evil, but because their inner world demands more than it contributes. Your energy feeds what they have not yet learned to nourish within themselves. Some thoughts drain you because they recycle old fears instead of creating new possibilities. Some habits drain you because they maintain your comfort instead of building your evolution. Some environments drain you because they reflect who you were, not who you are becoming. Slow down now. Take a breath. Feel the truth rising. Not everything in your life deserves your energy. When you withdraw from what drains you, you return to yourself. You reclaim your strength. You restore your inner fire. You sharpen your awareness. You recover your direction. You begin to walk not with heaviness, but with presence. Not with confusion, but with clarity. Not with exhaustion, but with purpose. Growth begins the moment you stop feeding what weakens you. Focus is your power. Discipline is your anchor. Energy is your currency. Spend it wisely. Because the moment you stop giving your energy to what does not grow you, you begin giving it to what transforms you. Hold this realization gently for a moment. Let it expand in your chest, settle in your mind, and deepen in your breath. Because from this awareness forward, every step you take becomes intentional. Every choice becomes meaningful. Every movement becomes aligned. Every day becomes a chapter in the becoming of who you are destined to be. And from this place of full presence, you are ready for what comes next. Take a long breath, let it rise and fall, like the rhythm of a world older than memory. Everything you have heard, everything you have absorbed, everything that has moved within you is not just wisdom, it is instruction, a map, a compass, a mirror. Each keynote has pointed toward a single understanding. You are not here to move through life unconsciously. You are here to awaken to your discipline, to your silence, to your energy, to your path, to your truth, to your potential, to your strength, to your inner world, the place where everything begins. You have been reminded that the mind is not your enemy. It is a wild companion waiting for direction. You have been shown that the body is not a machine. It is a temple that carries generations of instinct. You have been guided to see that your habits are not random. They are architects shaping your destiny one choice at a time. You have been taught that. Silence is not emptiness. It is a forge where clarity is shaped and purpose is refined. You have felt that energy is not infinite. It is precious, delicate, responsive, and must be guarded like sacred fire. And you have discovered that transformation is not loud. It is quiet, deliberate, steady. A rising sun that appears sudden only to those who did not witness the long night before it. Pause now. Feel the weight of every truth in your bones. Your path is not ahead of you. Your path is beneath you. You walk it with each breath, each intention, each disciplined moment. Your evolution does not happen someday. It happens every day, every hour, every choice, every moment you decide not to negotiate with your weakness, every moment you return to your center instead of your chaos, every moment you choose growth over comfort, purpose over distraction, alignment over reaction, you are not separate from the wisdom you have heard. It was only reminding you of what you already carried. Your strength was always there. Your discipline was always there. Your clarity was always there. Your fire was always there. Hidden beneath noise, buried beneath doubt, sleeping beneath years of survive. But present, waiting, deeply patient, and now awakened. This journey has not been about becoming someone new. It has been about returning to the one you were before the world taught you to shrink. Walk forward with the calm of someone who knows their direction, with the patience of someone who trusts their process, with the steadiness of someone who has faced themselves and did not look away. Walk forward with the understanding that mastery is not a destination. It is a state of being, a way of breathing, a way of seeing, a way of living your life with deliberate presence. And remember, every step you take from this moment is a step into the version of yourself that has been calling to you for years. The future you seek is already reaching back. Walk to meet it, slowly, intentionally, unshakably, and let your life from this point on be a silent demonstration of everything you have learned.